it is important for Iran. I mean, they want to collect fees, I have no doubt, and they see this as compensation for the crimes committed against Iran by these countries in the Persian Gulf region. And I'm sure that the Iranians are going to have preferential treatment for those countries that didn't take part in the onslaught against the Iranian people. But it's more that the security issue is the most important thing. War has been waged against the country by Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, the Israeli regime, and the United States. And the Iranians will not accept the Persian Gulf region being another foothold, being used again as a foothold by the United States against the country. We'll have to wait and see, though, what the final text is like with regards to what ships are not allowed to go through and what sort of fees will be collected. But from my understanding, initially they'll start with 2 corridors, but then it'll merge into one. But it's exactly as you said, that the Iranians will have oversight over the corridor that goes alongside Oman before the merger. So, but we still don't have a deal. I was told that at any minute there will be a statement from the Supreme National Security Council, like an hour or two ago. I haven't checked for like a half an hour before the show, and I don't know if a statement has come out yet. And I don't even know what the statement is going to be about, but I was told that the statement will be released shortly. Okay. So maybe that'll have something to do with this.
We have this statement. Let me read that statement for you. Iranian Supreme National Security Council, until America corrects its behavior, the Strait of Hormuz will not be opened. Correcting behavior means, 1, never threaten Iran with any language, nor insult this, never insult the nation, the Iranian nation, end the war and aggression against Iran and its allies in Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, and Iraq permanently. Lift the naval blockade and withdraw U.S. naval and air forces from the area surrounding Iran. Pay the damage for the 2 aggressive wars imposed against Iran. Lift the cruel and illegal sanctions against the Iranian nation. Release the frozen and stolen assets of Iranian people unconditionally. These are the demands of the Iranian people who have been relentlessly present in the squares and streets for 160 days. The Supreme National Security Council will never back down, and whether in war or in negotiations. This is 5-6 lines of what they have announced just moments ago.
That's a pretty tough statement.
I think they've covered everything.
Did they say anything about the color of Trump's tie or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's important the way that they said the language, because Donald Trump, again and again, you see he's using the same sort of language as it was before the MOU and during the MOU and after MOU. But the other important point is the aggression against Iran together with its allies, Lebanon, Palestine. It mentioned.
Well, I told you, I've been saying for the last few weeks that Iran is going to be, after the U.S. wrecked the MOU and renewed the war, the Iranians emerged even stronger. So the Iranian during the MOU negotiations, Iran said that Gaza is a part of this, and Dr. Ghalibaf told the different Palestinian delegations that Gaza will be and Palestine, I guess, but that Palestine will be part of the negotiations. He said that. And then after the collapse of the MOU and the fact that the Iranians emerged even stronger in this phase of the war, it was clear that the Iranians are going to be more determined than before, despite that fake ceasefire that was agreed upon in Egypt, and this, that Iran is going to be insisting that the behavior towards the Iraqi people, the Lebanese people, the Palestinian people, and the Yemeni people change. So this is a very strong statement, and when the more the Americans push for conflict, the tougher the Iranians are going to become.
Yeah, I think it mentions it since all its allies, Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, Iraq, permanently they have to. And the other point in this announcement, in this note that from the Iranian Supreme National Security, is that the lift of lifting the naval blockade and withdraw U.S. naval and air forces from the area surrounding Iran. It means that Iran is particularly practically is doing this, Professor Marandi. You look at Iraq today, Bahrain, Kuwait, the military of Iran or armed forces of Iran, the main focus, the main strategy was that so far.
Yes, Americans don't intend to withdraw from the region, but the Iranians have effectively forced them to withdraw from key footholds in the region. But the Iranians are taking very strong position on Gaza, Palestine, and Lebanon, and Yemen, and Iraq. And I think that's a very good thing. But we'll have to see how things play out in the days and weeks ahead. But it shows their confidence and their willingness to remain steadfast. And Americans are not in a strong position. This war has been going on for 5.5 months, except for that short period of time when the MOU was partially functioning. We've had very little energy leave the Persian Gulf region. And it's not just energy, by the way. You know better than I. It's just a reminder, though, helium, fertilizers, all sorts of products. And of course, the wealth that was being accumulated by these regimes, that was much of it sent to the United States for the stock market and the bond market, that is gone. And of course, now we have the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandab Strait blocked to the Saudis. So, and of course, the shortages of missiles and remember, our good friend Larry Johnson, although by now everyone knows who Larry is, but he was talking about these shortages far before any of these media outlets or anyone linked to the U.S. government or any of these any public figure was speaking about these shortages. He was talking about these issues, and I think
he was talking in April, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think he even wrote something in his Sonar
website,
21.
Sonar 21.
Yeah. So that just shows Larry's knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Again, I think I want to mention the line 4, 5, and 6 of this declaration, this statement is talking about the the damages has been done due to these two wars. They have to pay for that. Lifting the sanctions on Iranian people and frozen assets. Again, we know part of those frozen assets are in UAE, Qatar, and all these countries. Are they going to get back, or is Iran going to be able to use them? These are important questions right now, and I don't see that. Do you think that it means that Iran would not cooperate with the United States to open up the Strait of Hormuz before achieving these goals that were mentioned in this?
Open up meaning normalizing trade? No, they won't do that. No. I mean, Iran may allow more ships to go through, ships that are friendly from countries that are friendly to Iran in smaller numbers. But Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, these countries have Iranian blood on their hands. Iranians are very, they're very angry, and they feel that and that the government and the armed forces and the state has to be very firm. And so, the war has been imposed upon the country, and they lost. But they began the war by murdering and with 168 little kids intentionally. Intentionally, I have no doubt that it was intentional. And for those who say, "Oh, how could the Americans?" They obviously don't know much about the Americans. But look at Gaza, look at Lebanon. The Americans were supporting the Israeli regime and continue to support them as we speak. And then there's Lamerd, which they murdered all those little young women, teenagers who were playing volleyball. They also slaughtered all of them on day one with that experimental missile of theirs, one of those expensive new generation missiles. They, vaporized them, if I'm not mistaken. They were playing these girls were playing in a stadium. They were playing, I think, I don't know, was it volleyball or basketball? And they just slaughtered them. And does it even register in the West? Is anyone outraged in the New York Times or the Guardian? The so-called progressive media outlets? Of course not. Are European parliamentarians signing statements of condemnation? Of course not. So the Iranian people are expecting the government to take a firm stand. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But this statement, was a very, very, very strong worded statement.
We had the Iraqi prime minister saying that September 30th is the final deadline for the withdrawal of international coalition forces from Iraq. And because he said that we're keen to build balanced relationships with neighboring countries and will not allow our territory to be used or threaten them. It means, I think he's basically talking about Iran and the attacks on Iran. And I don't know what is your perception of that, because these coalition forces, it means that the United States together with Europeans, they were there before this war started, but they're reducing their forces. You see the way Iran has attacked the Iraqi Kurdistan, you see they're removing some of those air defense systems from that region as well. And here comes the Iraqi prime minister talking about it.
Yes, but ultimately the biggest problem that Iraq faces is the fact that the United States is controlling its wealth. And this is exactly what we're now seeing in Venezuela too. And when the Iraqi government wanted to do a major deal with China, where they would sell Chinese oil and they would do projects in Iraq so that they wouldn't have to go through this process. My God, I forgot the name of the prime minister of Iraq. The Americans removed him. The prime minister of Iraq when General Soleimani was martyred. General Soleimani was martyred on his way to see. He was supposed to see the Iraqi prime minister in the morning. If you find his name, or if some of your viewers find his name, he did a major deal with the Chinese, where that Iraq would sell oil to China, and China would carry out projects, and that, of course, outraged the United States, because the United States wanted control over Iraq, to hold them by the neck, just like Venezuela. And so the Americans effectively had
Mahdi.
Yes, Dr.
Adil
Abdul Mahdi.
Yeah.
He wanted to basically free Iraq, liberate Iraq, and his name will go down in history. But he wanted to liberate Iraq from this very disgusting stranglehold that the Americans have over the Iraqi people. But the Americans effectively had him removed from power. So yes, the removal of Western forces from Iraq is a very important first move. But ultimately, the only way to have Iraqi liberation is when the Iraqi people have control over their own money. And by the way, one thing that these Arab regimes, these family dictatorships in the Persian Gulf, one major mistake, the foolish mistake that they made by putting all their money in the U.S. and in the West, but most of their money in the U.S., they're never going to see a lot of that money ever again. It's just, the Americans will never allow them to take it.